So clearly, I'm hoping that I'm a better biz dev guy than I am a on-camera actor here. But for those who get a chance to look at this picture and zoom in at some point, if you look up in the top left corner, you'll see a very, very rare thing, and that is a picture of me in public as a young Cub Scout there. So if they put this online somewhere, zoom in, post it elsewhere, there are people who will pay you for that photo, I guarantee you. So again, my name is Bill Spruill. I'm here to talk about scaling your sales with limited resources. And what does that mean? Well, I've done a lot of startups. And these are a few of the past companies. Many of these companies we started up with, in fact, all except for one, we ran with absolutely no venture capital investment whatsoever and grew the revenue accordingly. DataFlux is the one I cut my teeth at, and I joined that company as a business development manager, and they had just been acquired by SAS. So we had a big brother behind us, but we had a whole lot of red line underneath us on the growth side. So my strength in development is growing revenue from 500K to 10 million. That's where I've learned my ninja skills, and I hope I can convey some of that to you all today. So you've got a great product, but you've got limited resources. And what do I mean by limited resources? No money, no marketing, no ability to reach those outside markets. You don't have a lot of venture capital to hire a bunch of SDRs or to go out and buy Hoover's lists or to get D&B. You've got pretty much a whole lot of nothing in hand. So how do you actually make it happen? How do you actually accelerate your growth? Welcome to the upside down, folks. Strategic channels. I don't think I've heard, at least this afternoon, anyone really speak to this side of the sales. And this, again, is amazing to me because this is where you can make a whole lot of money without a whole lot of resource commitment. You don't have to hire 100 salespeople. You don't have to hire 10 salespeople. My team at Address Doctor, when I was running it, we had 7 people. At DataFlux, I was the only business development manager, and we got my book of business got up to about 3 million there before I left. So this is something you can do without a whole lot of resource investment. So how do you actually optimize your channels for maximal growth? You got to treat your channel like an investment portfolio. And what I mean by that is you have to bifurcate your markets. I think we heard earlier about going vertical. I split the markets out 3 different ways, really 4 different ways. I focus in on large enterprise partners, medium-sized enterprise partners, small boutique consulting partners, and then new market interests. So on the enterprise side, these are the gods that walk among us. That's what I call them, at least. They're the Microsofts, the IBMs, the Oracles, the LexisNexis, Thomson Reuters, the big organizations that if you're lucky and smart, these are the guys who are going to buy you out at the end of the exercise. These are the ones you want to be partnered with early on in your business. They'll do large deals for you, and what I mean by large deals, they'll drop $500,000 to $1 million in your lap magically. Their time frames, however, are very unpredictable. You'll have no idea, and that's what I mean by magically, when those deals will actually come in the door. But if you're managing them right, they will come. Their deal flow volumes vary. They may do 1 deal a year. They may do 5 deals a year for you. You'll have no idea, frankly, going back to the whole forecasting discussion. You will not be able to forecast how the large enterprise will work for you. And those relationships can take an exorbitantly long period of time to build. 1 to 3 years is a guarantee to really make them hum for you. I have a past relationship with IBM and their data management group, and that relationship, when we started it, it took 4 years before they started churning for us. When they started churning for us, they were doing about $2 million a year. So that's the magic of the large enterprise for you. The medium enterprise is where you're going to make your bread and butter. And that's what you really want to focus on in the early part. You want to get those enterprise players on board with you, but the medium guys are going to bring the money to you on your monthly day in, day out basis. Varied deal sizes, they'll range from $10,000 to $100,000 to $200,000, depending on what product it is you're selling. But their time frames are far more predictable. And that's because their sales teams, their biz dev teams are going to be actively engaged with you in how they pursue their business. Their volume will vary based on how they roll out and how well received you are within their sales and product teams. And those relationships, however, can take a lot less time to get ramped up. 5 to 18 months can get you up to speed with most medium-sized enterprise partners. This is where you really want to focus in those early months and days. The boutique guys, the really small ones, they'll bring you some small deals periodically. But the nice thing is they've got great ear to the ground on what's going on in the market. These relationships are easy to get in place, and generally, they're going to bring you quick deals because they don't want to talk to you unless there's money attached to something. They're coming to you wanting to sell your product, or they want to engage with you because they think they've got a customer on the hook. It's either someone they already work with or someone they feel very close to they can actually get in the door. So you want to sign those partners as quickly as you possibly can. And I say 1 to N months because you'll have some of these that as much as they chase the deal, they're not able to actually close the deal. That's it. No, I actually like interactive, so that's good.
What's your starting point? What are you selling?
So I'm a software guy. So, thank you for that. I guess here I go. I didn't do a great job of introducing myself, but, and this thing, I sure will try. Here we go. All right. Everybody's supposed to know me. There we go. That's what I wanted to hear. So I'm an enterprise data management software guy. So we do international identity verification now. My past is data quality software, address verification software. So I've been working in enterprise data management for over 20 years. And so this whole thing is all geared towards that universe of play. If you're selling life sci, if you're selling some, more hard goods, it applies in the hardware space somewhat, but it's really about enterprise software. You're selling this to organizations, again, whether it's a Thomson Reuters, LexisNexis, IBM, Amdocs, on and on. Answer the question? Beautiful. Apologies for that. So let's jump back to it. So in talking about these enterprise partnerships, the other key one you really want to focus on are new market entrants. These are small companies diving into a brand new market and opening it up. If you're able to embed your technology with them, as they grow, your revenue can possibly grow. And it costs you nothing to do that. Now, those deal sizes in the beginning will be varied. There will be unpredictable time frames for closing based on what type of traction they get in their markets. But those relationships, you can get up to speed in a reasonable amount of time. And if you score the right relationship, you can win big. And I'm going to speak to that next. So one of the companies I was with, a company called Address Doctor, it was a German-based international address verification software company. Nobody knew us in the marketplace. When I joined the company, they were doing about $800,000 in revenues. I came on as a BDM, quickly became COO, and we drove that company's revenue up through a solid channel management strategy. So on the high end, as you'll see, on the large enterprise side, we proliferated our technology amongst the entire market of competitors that were out there. Everybody was using our stuff. In the middle, we embedded our technology in companies like Micros, which was later acquired by Oracle. Again, Trojan horse strategy. CapScan, later acquired by GB Group, another company that you see up there, and other organizations. One of the key places we made a good chunk of our growth revenue from, however, was by seeding our technology in the master data management space, which at that time was a brand new market. This was the whole customer, one view, data cleansing marketplace. So we seeded our technology in companies like Spruill, DWL, Initiate, Datanomics, companies you've never heard of. Spruill was acquired by Informatica, large enterprise player at the top of that. DWL, acquired by IBM, large enterprise player at the top of that. Initiate, acquired by IBM, large enterprise player at the top of that. And Datanomics, I believe, was acquired by SAP along the way, whom we also worked with as well. So once we Trojan horsed into all of those organizations, easy pleasy for us. Our revenues went through the roof. All on a small team of players, all providing primarily business development, alliance management support with good technology on the back end, a good product on the back end of that, but solid biz dev relationship management sales on the front end of that. In my current company today, one of the great examples of why that relationship sale and why the alliance management game really works for us is a lead that came in 2 weeks ago that I'm still giddy over today. Canadian company, CEO reaches out over the web because we spend about maybe $5,000, we'll say $7,000 a year on marketing. So guess what? There's not a whole lot of outbound marketing going on that front. This is all inbound. CEO reaches out to us and says, I got a recommendation from PayPal that you all are great people to work with and your stuff is good. Paraphrasing a little bit, but that's pretty much what the guy said. So we are in PayPal through one of our partnerships with LexisNexis. LexisNexis drags us in. They make it clear who they're working with because we're known as experts in the identity management space. And PayPal knows that we're actually providing a solid product on the other end of that, good prices, and great customer service. All of that drags through to help add to easy sales. I say easy, that deal's not done yet, by the way, with that particular individual, but it absolutely produces sales opportunities that you wouldn't have in any other way. So it's absolutely a ninja gorilla style exercise, but it's an exercise that I've been able to prove in multiple companies works well. So my key takeaways today, doing those channels right mean diversifying your portfolio. You can't just pick one. You've got to go through all those levels and play at all those levels. Those large enterprise partnerships are not going to generate for you in the beginning, but if you nurse them along and take care of them, that's how you get them to become a buyer. There's not one tech company out there that magically gets an IBM to just buy you after 3 months of working with them. It doesn't go like that. You've got to get in, get embedded, get through all of the firewalls of legal, vendor management. You've got to get into multiple divisions in that organization. And your stuff has actually got to work, mind you, and provide value. But that's where those acquisition conversations will actually come from, not some surface level interaction that you have with them at the maybe top level partner level. Becoming a member of Oracle Partner Network is not going to get you acquired. You've got to go in early and go in deep. Go for the long game. And does that. There we go. Your mid-sized partners are going to generate the majority of your month-to-month, day-to-day revenues. These are guys who are going to bring your bread and butter in. They're going to make your payroll for you. Again, if your cash strap is important. They're going to help you get through. They're going to help you shape your product accordingly for those large enterprise players. And they're going to be really patient with you on that front, which is the most important part of growing your business in the early days. So these people, that's where you spend the majority of your time. Or your BDR should be spending the majority of their time. And don't be afraid to see the market with your technology. It costs you nothing to give other early stage entrants access to your tech. When I was at Dataflux, again, we were having a really difficult time in the data quality market selling our technology. And what I did was I embedded our fuzzy matching into a lot of the other ETL players in the marketplace. Even though SAS had an ETL product that they sold, we actually embedded our matching into a lot of the other ETL players that were out there. And as they were acquired and rolled up, they were just generating royalties for us. And it was a beautiful thing. So don't be afraid to embed your product into other early markets. Give them a chance. If you bet right, you'll win big. And then the huge enterprise partnerships will generate big money for you over the long run. These are the guys that will drive your revenues from all of a sudden 1 million to 3 million with just a single deal. But you are not going to be able to predict that in advance, which is why you've got to focus on those other partnerships all along the way. So I think that was it. I kept it well under my time, but it also got us back on the clock today, and I'm happy to answer any questions you may have. Sure. So I'm a product management guy. So I always start in with product management, get the buy-in that they actually have a need for our product and it fits their portfolio, and then drive in from there. And be patient. Be exceptionally patient. LexisNexis, which is a partner of my current company, I remember they actually wanted us to do something completely different than what we actually do with them now. And we would fly to Atlanta and have conversations with them in Midtown, have lunch, and basically explain to them, you can't do this. And they would say, well, no, we're LexisNexis. We can do anything we want. And we were patient. We didn't drop them. And it took time, but they finally came around to the right frame of thinking. So you work with product management. You've got to be exceptionally patient. Something that I think Chaz and Larry mentioned earlier is you've also got to understand how their contracts process works. So going in with your own demands and your own contract, odds are you're going to have a problem because their legal really doesn't care what your paper says. They're really focused on what their paper says. So you have to be a bit flexible along the way in that exercise and be prepared to take 2 to 3 years to really get a solid relationship off the ground with them. Absolutely. Absolutely. I get to know a VP of product on one side of the fence. I might get to know a field salesperson on the other side of the fence. I'll get to know people in different geographies through my network. And I will absolutely attack from multiple dimensions. 3D chess.
The direct sales and channel sales sales process are different. Talking about managing channel side is more of a long-term investment where you have to deal with legal, you have to deal with paperwork, vendor management, training, educating the larger partners. How do you manage the resources that are already limited?
Sure. So first of all, you can do a hybrid model. In fact, most organizations, frankly, have a hybrid model. It's not one or the other. The larger, as you get larger, you'll have both. And even in the smaller stages, frankly, you'll do some direct deals. We do direct business in our company now. But again, a fair focus of our revenue mix, about 80%, I would tell you, comes through channels. How do you balance that? Again, it goes back to you focus on those channels that are going to generate the nearer term revenue for you. So you treat those almost like a direct sales opportunity. And you look at the longer term deals as, again, they're further out for you, but you don't put the resource time into those. So we've got one biz dev person, our head of biz dev sales is actually sitting here in the audience, and he just came on board 4 months ago. So before that, it was me. I was selling for the business and driving the revenue number. So now he's responsible for that side of the fence. And he comes from actually both worlds, so he could probably share a bit of that with you. But it's really all about focus and picking who you're going to put your energy into. And going back to the forecasting discussion, we don't actually talk about forecasts. We actually talk about managing the deals. And we look at each and every opportunity to say which one's closest to coming in for this month and the next month, and we put our energies into making sure those deals get done. And we don't worry way out into the future. Can't afford to worry about the future. We're on a 1 to 2 to 3 month forecast window on that front. So he'll be happy, I'm sure, to tell you that I don't spend time looking at probabilities or any of that nonsense. I want to know what it takes to get a finite number of deals done every month. And that's what we focus on. Other questions this side of the room? Yeah. Well, absolutely. I mean, our tech is it's our IP encapsulated inside of a product. So you can absolutely seed the market with IP as it relates to even life science deals or hardware science deals. It just depends on whatever your product is. So yes. The upside down.
The upside down, and the company wants to grow channel partners, which we should. How do you break it to it that they're losing part of their?
So that's a great question. I dealt with that at Dataflux, actually. So we had a direct sales team that would sit out in the bullpen, and they, 7 people that were out there selling or trying to sell, and then I was the guy, on the other side out there talking to partners who actually competed with them in deals to some degree. And what I did was actually integrated that process. So it was just me, and I figured out at some point I wasn't scalable. So what I was able to do was start tying deals into our salespeople. So I would basically feed them deals, and that was how we grew our channel business, and it actually helped them in many occasions hit their numbers when they weren't going to hit them through their direct efforts. Yeah, and that's, again, you've got to figure out ways to make those models work. But in that way, they basically stop looking at it as you're cannibalizing my market, and that is a natural thing. It was beautiful, frankly, when Informatica bought Address Doctor. We had actually begun, we had started up Locate because we knew that Informatica would mistreat all of those channel partners that we had signed up because they all competed with each other. And they didn't want to, but they couldn't help themselves. It was beautiful. And they mistreated them, and all those partners then ran to Locate, and which also did international address verification, amazingly enough. And it was a great maneuver. It did. It did, because they had sales experts and people who were really knowledgeable about the product day-to-day engaging with them on the other side of that. They're like your knowledge experts, and that's what you want. And if you're acquired by a larger organization, ultimately, those become those overlay employees if you sort of think about it from that perspective. So you always want your knowledge experts to dive in with channel partners if you can. Other questions? I love this to be interactive. I can turn this around and start asking you questions. Anyone else? So, ProServe's a wonderful universe as well, because it goes back to that sort of that boutique universe of players. I would find the right product companies that I could actually partner with and help them enhance their sales process. So again, you'll find that some products require a heavy lift around the professional services side of things. So if you can find those companies, then you become their heavy lift arm, where they don't have those internal resources that can go and do that. On our side, on the dev side, we've got 3 people. And we're managing, we manage more than 24 enterprise level, high-end enterprise level partners. And so we are starting to work towards how do we actually deal with that from a scale perspective on the ProServe side. Can we actually find people who are knowledge experts who can go in and help these people sell our product or deliver to the customer on the other side, which is the ultimate game. So that's how I would look to apply it. I would pick something that you can manage, and I would go deep. I would work with 4 or 5 companies all in the same stack, if you will. So in the same industry stack. So whether it's data quality, whether it's CRM, whether it's platform information management, whatever the case may be, I would pick a stack and go deep across different pieces of that stack and become the experts there. That way you're not competing completely within your different lines, but you become a stack expert. Make sense? Beautiful. Other thoughts, questions? Great. Thank you all.
Thank you,
Have a
Bill.
great weekend.
Appreciate it.